Students, good afternoon. Can you see the slide? Am I audible? Can anyone reply? Students, can anyone reply? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me continue with the today's class. Factors that determine the LMX quality. Well, before going to today's topic, we'll try to do a quick recap of the concepts what we discussed in the previous class. Now, we majorly understood the concept of dyadic theory. So, what is dyadic theory? Yeah, who is called as a dyad? An association between a leader and a follower is called a dyad. Correct? So, which we discussed in the previous class, and then we understood majorly the evolution of dyadic theory. So, dyadic theory is an approach. So, dyadic theory is a approach to leadership that attempts to explain why leaders vary their behavior with the different followers. Then, after understanding this, we even discussed in the previous class the various stages of development, right? So, which you can, yeah, which are the various stages of development? That is vertical dyadic linkage theory, that was called as VDL. Then leader member exchange, that is called as LMX. Then team building, and finally systems and network. So, in today's class, we will try to understand the factors that determine the leader member exchange quality, that is called as LMX quality. Students, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what are these factors that determine the LMX quality? See, behavioral and situational factors influence the creation of high or low quality leader member exchange relationship. Correct? So, LMX relationship antecedents include the first one, which you can see the slide over there, that is follower attributes. Let me explain you each and every point in detail. And the second one is called as the leader follower perceptions of each other. And finally, the situational factors. Now, the difference between the contingency theories, what we studied in the previous unit, and the LMX is that while the former emphasizes how a good leader facilitates employee job performance, but the later emphasizes how a good employee facilitates leader job performance, right? But what exactly the LMX exchange model suggests? The leader member exchange model suggests that proactive employees, I'm repeating, proactive employees in the organization, they possess additional characteristics. See, proactive employees, they always show initiative even in the areas outside their immediate responsibility. And they possess a strong sense of commitment to work unit goals, and even they show a greater sense of responsibility for unit success. Correct? So these follower attributes influence the leaders to show support, then delegate, engage in open communication, and even encourage mutual influence between themselves as well as their followers. So, here what we need to understand is the leader and the follower perceptions of each other will also predict the quality of the LMX relationship, right? See, the leader's first impression of the follower can influence the leader's behavior toward the follower, right? So, what studies examine? The studies examining this proposition found that a favorable relationship is more likely when the follower is perceived to be competent and dependable, and when the follower's values and attitudes are similar to those of the leader. That has to match, right? So the leader's first impression of a group member's competency plays an important role in defining the quality of the LMX relationship. So the quality of the relationship is thus dependent on the type of the leader as well as the behavior of the follower. Correct? So what we can say, the leader and the follower behavior. So situational factors also do play a role in determining the quality of LMX relationship. See, for example, students, let me take an example. A manager asks the employee to do something beyond what the formal employment agreement calls for. So the new employee's reaction indicates the potential loyalty, support, and trustworthiness, and leads to more, versus fear opportunities for the responsibility, personal growth, and other positive experiences. For example, the time of the employees will be, say, for example, morning 9 to 4. But sometimes, due to the project, your leader or the boss to whom you are reporting might tell that, okay, today only after the completion of this particular project you can move. So here, this is very challenging task. Some of them, what they do, they try to complete the task within that particular time. Some of them will try to complete it, let it be late that particular day. But what they do, they try to complete it, let it be 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 8 p.m., 10 p.m. Right. So it indicates the potential loyalty, support, and the trustworthiness, and leads to more versus fear opportunities for responsibilities. And see, just imagine, not all the days your leader or the boss or your manager will tell you that you need to complete the project and go. Some days when the deadline is nearer, so he might ask you to extend your work of the time of work. So at that particular time, so if you extend and complete the given task on that particular day, so what happens? The perception of the leader from this will greatly influence the type of the relationship, right, between the leader and the follower. So followers perceived to be hardworking and willing to go on the extra mile for the leader, while those who are perceived to be lazy or unwilling to go on the extra mile will automatically fall in the out group. Correct? We discussed in the previous class the in group and out group. So what happens? The followers perceived to be hardworking and willing to go on an extra mile for the leader will be in the in group. That means they'll be getting the trust of a leader. They'll be loyal to the leader, right? While those who are perceived to be lazy or unwilling to go on an extra mile will automatically fall in the out group, right? See, for whatever reasons, ability level, familiarity, or liking, loyalty, reputation of followers, selected pairs of leaders and followers develop high quality LMX relationships. So that's what we have to understand here. So leaders express positive attitudes such as trust, obviously, right? And respect toward these followers. And leaders also express a desire for reciprocity. This is very important with followers and imply that they expect a high level of mutual support and loyalty in return. So attempts to link the loyalty to supervisor and employee performance have been supported through a lot of research. Okay. So followership. So see, the definitions state something like this. The followership refers to the behavior of followers that result from the leader-follower influence relationship. I'll repeat once again, students, please try to understand. Define followership. Okay. See, followership refers to the behavior of followers that results from the leader-follower influence relationship. Let me elaborate on this. See, many scholars or many researchers agree that leadership is a relationship that is jointly produced by whom? By leaders and followers. And that to adequately understand it, we must know more about the often nameless persons who comprise the followers of leaders. However, because leaders are more visible than followers, most leadership research has focused on leaders and ignore the totally ignore the role of followers in explaining the organizational successes or even the failures. Correct? Why? Because majority of the research will majorly focus on the leaderships rather than on the followers. Well, all of you know that it is a teamwork, or the leader requires the support of followers in order to execute the project. See, there is increasing recognition that leaders are just one part of a duality, because there can be no leaders without followers. All of you know this, right? So followers are the passive partners of the leader follower dyad until they receive explicit instructions from a leader and then proceed to follow those instructions in an unquestioning manner. Please, this is very important, unquestioning manner. See, when I say unquestioning manner, a follower is a person who is being influenced by leader, right? So, however, there is a growing awareness that the influencing process is a two-way street, with followers also influencing the leaders, as I mentioned to you in the example. So effective followers can help leaders lead without threatening the leader's position. This is very important, right? See, followers, what happens after gaining some experience, after gaining the confidence of the leader, sometimes they want to become the leader. But here, effective followers can help the leaders lead without threatening the leader's position. So, whom do you call a good follower? A good followers who give input that influences managers are vital to the success of any organization, right? So when we try to understand the follower types, see, organizational success and failures are often attributed to effective or ineffective leaders without fully recognizing the contribution of followers. So now in this section, we will try to understand the follower types. See, according to Kelly, the extent to which a follower is active or passive and is an independent critical thinker or a dependent non-critical thinker determines whether he or she is an alienated follower, a passive follower, then a conformist, a pragmatic follower, or an effective follower. So we will try to understand the, see, this is x-axis, students, that is critical thinking is concerned. You can see the slide over there, and this is y-axis, that is level of involvement. First, we'll try to understand whom do we call as an effective follower or a conformist follower, and then we'll try to understand this particular x-axis and y-axis. Okay, the first and the foremost thing is the alienated follower. All of you see here, alienated follower. See the slide, alienated follower. Okay, see, whom do you call as an alienated follower? He's a passive yet independent and critical thinker. See, he is actually passive, correct? You can see the diagram here. A passive and an independent critical thinker or a dependent non-critical thinker determines whether he or she is an alienated follower, a passive follower, a formist, a pragmatic follower. Okay, so when we discussed about the alienated follower, please try to understand he will be a passive yet independent critical thinker. So the alienated follower is someone who feels cheated or unappreciated by his or her organization for his exemplary work. So often cynical in their behavior, the alienated followers, so what happens, are capable but unwilling to participate in developing solutions to problems, because they are just happy to dwell on the negatives and ignore the positives as far as the organizational life goes. See, his critical thinking is very high, but level of involvement is low. You can see in the x-axis here, his critical thinking is very high, whereas his level of involvement is low, right? Now we'll try to understand this conformist follower. his critical thinking will be low, whereas level of involvement is high. Why? Because we'll try to understand now. The conformist follower is an active, because his involvement is very high in the diagram here. Please see. But unassertive, non-critical thinker. See, in other words, conformists are the yes people of the organization. So they carry out all the orders without considering the consequence of such orders. So a conformist to do anything to avoid the conflict. Correct? So authoritarian leaders prefer conformist followers. Then comes the passive follower here. His critical thinking is also low and his level of involvement is also low. So here you can see my cursor here, passive follower. See, the passive follower exhibits neither critical independent thinking nor active participation. So the passive follower looks to the leader to do all the thinking and does not carry out his or her task with enthusiasm. So lacking in initiative and a sense of responsibility, the passive follower requires constant supervision and never goes beyond the job description. So he never thinks out of the box. So whatever his higher ups will say, he'll try to execute in the same manner. That too, his critical thinking is very low and the level of involvement is also very low. And see, they are often described, the passive followers are often described by their leaders as lazy, they're unmotivated, and even incompetent. That means why? Because the level of involvement is very low in case of passive follower, right? Next comes the effective follower. See, all of you, my cursor here, effective follower. His critical thinking is high, and even level of involvement is also high. So the effective follower is both an independent critical thinker and a very active member in the group. Correct? The effective follower presents a consistent image of commitment, innovation, creativity, and hard work for achieving organizational goals. Right? So effective followers are not risk averse nor shy of conflict. They have the courage to initiate change and put themselves at risk or in the conflict with others, even their leaders, to serve the best interest of the organization. So they are often described as proactive. Who are described as proactive students? Effective followers are described as proactive. Why? Because effective followers tend to function very well in self-managed teams, SMTs. So they are a manager's best asset in that they complement the leader's efforts, right? And can be relied upon to relieve the leaders of many tasks, because they are high in critical thinking and their level of involvement is also very high in the organization. Then we have the pragmatic follower, exactly the circle what you are seeing here, what I'm indicating in my cursor. The pragmatic follower exhibits a little of all the four styles. He'll be having a alienated follower, effective follower, conformist follower, and a passive follower. So exactly this circle is placed in between the four quadrants. So majorly depending on which style fits the prevailing situation. So pragmatic follower are stuck in the middle most of the time, because it is difficult to discern just whether they stand on issues. They present an ambiguous image, that is always in a confusion image with the positive and negative sides. See, on the positive side, when an organization is going through desperate times, the pragmatic follower knows how to work the system to get things done. On the negative side, the same behavior can be interpreted as playing political games, right? Or adjusting to maximize the self interest. So what we understand here, understanding the different, see, this question can be asked students. So this diagram is very important. Explain the effective, conformist, alienated, and the passive follower, or explain the different various follower types. Okay. So to be effective as a follower, it is important to acquire the skills necessary to combine two opposing follower roles, namely to execute decisions made by a leader and to raise issues about those decisions when they are deemed misguided or unethical. So this is about the follower types. The same thing I have explained here, so that when you actually read, so you will come to know the 4 different types of followers. See, the effective follower is someone, you can see the slide here, who is high on critical thinking and involvement. Because effective follower means what? He his critical thinking is very active, and also his involvement is very much high. Correct? So effective followers are not risk averse, nor do they shy from any conflict. They have the courage to initiate change and put themselves at risk or in conflict with others, and even their leaders, to serve the best interest of the organization. So effective followers tend to function very well in SMTs, that is self-managed teams. Then we even understood the meaning of pragmatic, which exactly lies between the 4 quadrants. Now, after understanding all these different types of follower, so we'll try to understand some of the guidelines to become an effective follower. So, majority of the research has been conducted. So, research focused on followership has identified certain behaviors. See, these guidelines, students, have not come from the sky. A lot of research has been done in order to come out with these guidelines, right? So, research focused on followership has identified certain behaviors that work and others that don't. So, this has led to a formulation of guidelines on how to become an effective follower. So, the guidelines, it is argued, and distinguish followers on top performing teams from their counterparts on marginally performing teams. And very important is, see the first point here, offer support to leader. Let me elaborate on this. So what we are trying to understand now, the guidelines to become or becoming an effective follower. Offer support to leader. So when I say offer support to leader, a good follower looks for ways to express support and encouragement to a leader who is encountering the resistance in trying to introduce needed change in his or her organization. So successful organizations are characterized by followers whose work ethic and philosophy are in congruence with those of the leader. So always the follower offer support to the leader. Then the second guideline to become an effective follower, that is take initiative. See, effective followers, they take the initiative to do what is necessary without being told. I'm repeating once again, without being told, including working beyond their normally assigned duties. Right? So they look for opportunities to make a positive impact on the organization's objectives. So when serious problems arise that impede the organization's ability to accomplish its objectives, effective followers take the risk to initiate corrective action by pointing out the problem to the leader, suggesting alternative solutions, or if necessary, resolving the problem outright. So, this is one of the second important guideline to become an effective follower, that is take a initiative. Then after that, the third important guideline here is play counseling and coaching roles to leader when appropriate. See, what is this? A mutually trusting relationship with the leader facilitates upward coaching and counseling, right? So an effective follower must be alert for opportunities to provide helpful advice to the leader, and even ask questions, or simply to be a good listener when the leader needs someone to confide in. Correct? Because some leaders may be reluctant to ask for help. It is the follower's responsibility to recognize such situations and step in when appropriate. So, for example, students, a leader whose interpersonal relationship with another follower may be having a different effect than the leader intended could be counseled to see the ineffectiveness of his approach or style by another follower. Correct? Then after that, raise issue and or concerns when necessary. So this requires a lot of guts to the follower. The reason is nobody wants to be uh, have the bad image with his colleagues as well as with the leader. But a good follower or an effective follower, what he'll do when there are potential problems or drawbacks with the leader's plans and proposals, an effective follower, what he'll do, a effective follower's ability is to bring these ideas or concerns to light is critical. Correct? So how the followers rises these issues is very crucial, because leaders often get defensive in responding to negative feedback. So followers can minimize such defensiveness by acknowledging the leader's superior status and communicating a sincere desire to be of help in accomplishing the organization goals rather than personal objectives. Please understand this. So this guidance corresponds with the emerging view of the proactive employee as a follower who is highly involved and very much an independent thinker with initiative and a well developed sense of responsibility. And next we have, so what we are trying to understand here, students, we are trying to understand the few guidelines to become an effective follower. Now, point number E, seek and encourage honest feedback from the leader. Now, followers can play a constructive role in how their leaders evaluate them. So, some leaders are uncomfortable with experiencing negative concerns about followers' performance. So, they tend to focus only on the followers' strengths. And remember this, students, there is one way to build mutual trust and respect with the leader is to encourage honest feedback in his or her evaluation of your performance. So encourage the leader to point out the strongest and the weakest aspect of your work. Right? So to ensure that you have a comprehensive evaluation, consult the leader for his or her input on other things. So you can do to be more effective and find out if he or she has concerns about any other aspects of your work performance. So seek and encourage the honest feedback from the leader. The next guideline is clarify your role and expectations. That is very important, because if you have a wrong expectation, then you will be actually demotivated, right? See, where there is some question of role ambiguity or uncertainty about the job expectations, this must be clarified with the leader. So as he will be revealed in the in the later part, leaders responsibility to clearly communicate the role expectations for the followers. So many leaders fail to communicate clear job expectation, follow a scope of authority and responsibility, performance target that must be attained, and appropriate deadlines. So what happens? Followers should be assertive but diplomatic about resolving the role ambiguity and conflict. Next, the next point is show appreciation. See, everyone, including the leaders, loves to be appreciated when they perform a good deed that benefits others, right? So when a leader makes a special effort to help a follower, such as helping to protect the follower's interest or nurturing and promoting the follower's career, it is appropriate for the follower to show appreciation, right? So even if the leader's actions don't directly benefit a particular follower but represent a significant accomplishment for the organization, it is still an appropriate gesture for followers to express their appreciation and admiration for the leader. That's very important. And next we have keep the leader informed. This is very important. See, transparency should be there, students. So leaders always rely on their followers to relay important information about their actions and decisions. So accurate and timely information enables a leader to make quick and good decisions, and to have a complete picture of where things stand in the organization, right? So this responsibility of relaying information to the leader includes both positive as well as negative information. So some followers tend to withhold bad news from the leaders. This is just as detrimental as providing no information at all. And we have the last point, that is resist inappropriate influence of leader. What do you mean by resist inappropriate influence of the leader? Which means a leader may be tempted to use his or her power to influence the follower in ways that are inappropriate, that is legally or ethically. So, despite the power gap between the leader and the follower is not required to comply with the inappropriate influence attempts or to be exploited by an abusive leader. Correct? So, effective followers challenge the leader in a firm, tactful, and diplomatic way, reminding the leader of his or her ethical responsibilities, insisting on your rights, and pointing out the negative consequences of complying are various ways in which a follower can resist inappropriate influence attempts by a leader. So these are few guidelines to becoming an effective follower. The first one is what? Offer support to a leader. Then the second one is take initiative. Then play counseling and coaching roles to leader when appropriate. Raise issues and or concerns when necessary. Then seek and encourage honest feedback from the leader. Then clarify your role and expectations. Show appreciation and keep the leader informed. And finally, resist inappropriate influence of the leader. So these are few guidelines to becoming a effective follower. But now we will try to understand few factors that determine the follower influence. So the status of a follower, we will try to complete this particular slide, students. I want your attention for the last slide for the day. The status of a follower within an organization will affect how he or she treats or is treated by other employees. So some followers seem to have more influence over their peers. These are the followers that command respect, obedience, and loyalty from their peers and thus considered of higher status than the rest. So we'll try to understand each factor that determine the follower influence. Follower relative power position, the first factor. So what is this power position? It used to be believed that followers in an organization held no power and cared little about the long-term issues. But that is no longer the case now. In today's workplace, what is happening? Followers can and do command greater degrees of influence both with the followers and with their leaders too. So, with respect to the position of former leaders in an organization, the traditional belief was that they were the driving force behind the change and were role models for the change process. So, the reality is that no matter what position a person holds in the workplace, they are a force for change. So, followers are often recognized as innovators, self managers, or even risk takers. Then the second factor is follower locus of control. So let me explain you in detail about this point. Locus of control is on a continuum between an external and internal belief over who has control of a person's destiny. All of you have understood. So people who believe they are masters in their own destiny are said to have an internal locus of control, right? So they believe that they can influence people. I'm using the word believe. They believe. So they believe that they can influence people and events in their workplace. So, though many personality traits exist, only locus of control has been used consistently as an influencing characteristic in the area. So, people who believe they are, uh, pawns of fate or external locus of control, they tend to believe they have no influence or control at work. Correct. So, it is also believed that locus of control affects followers' attitude at work. So those with an internal locus of control tend to place much more importance on recycling as a cultural value than those with an external locus of control. And students, most research needs to be conducted on how the personality traits can affect how the followers relate to leaders and other followers. So, people who believe they are masters of their own destiny are said to have an internal locus of control. So they believe that they can influence people and events in their workplace. So people who believe they are pawns of fate, that means external locus of control, so they tend to believe that they have no influence or control at work. And always remember, followers with an internal locus of control prefer a different type of work environment than those with an external locus of control. And the next factor is follower education and experience. Now, followers with valuable skills and experience may be able to use their expert power to influence other followers and the leader. So, popular followers may be able to use their charm or charisma to influence others. And students, please remember this, to be more effective, leaders will need to understand and appreciate their followers, education, their experience, their training, and even the background, and how these factors influence their behavior. Right? So, this requirement is dictated by the fact that leaders and followers today work in an environment of constant change. So, we say, no, there's a power, only change is constant. So today's workers, most of them followers, are far more educated. They are diverse and younger than the workforce of 20 years ago. Yet the need for continuing education and training on the job will only increase. Right? So one reason for this is the increasing pace of technological change at work. And students, as many organizations reduce middle management positions, much of the responsibility and authority previously reserved for that level is being delegated to followers. And as a result, organizations are increasingly assuming a flat rather than the tall structure nowadays. And please understand this, not all the followers have the same level of education or experience. So these differences can have a major impact on the relationship among the followers and between the leaders and the followers. And followers in new job positions with little or no experience tend to need more guidance, correct? Because they don't have much experience. So they tend to need, or they need more guidance, coaching, and even feedback. Whereas followers in the long term employment position with experience often need only minimal guidance and periodic feedback in order to achieve high level of performance. So to improve their performance, inexperienced employees often seek the assistance of experienced employees, which is the universal truth. All of you know this. So these facts point in one direction. To succeed in work environment of the future, it will take a different kind of leadership and a different kind of followership. Correct? So a key part of every leader's job is to appraise the followers' performance and offer constructive feedback on how the follower can improve. So, however, students, few leaders are ever trained in how to perform this task effectively. So, next class we'll try to understand the meaning of delegation and so on. I hope all of you have understood today's session, students. I will end the session here. Thank you so much for your patience listening.